Hey everybody, it's Booray from Tampa, Florida. Welcome to another episode of Booray Explains, and this time we're going to talk about shutter speed. Shutter speed in a camera, it's one of the few things that actually very well describes what it is. It is the speed of the shutter. What's a shutter? Well, think about the shutter on a window, right? So you've got a window in your house and you've got a pair of shutters, right? And the shutters can close and block the window, right? You've got a storm coming, so you have to close the storm shutters. Mom, close the storm shutters. There's a storm coming. So you close the shutters, right? And this is what blocks the storm and the rain and the light from getting into the window. Well, that's what a shutter does inside a camera. There's different types of shutters, and we'll talk about those in subsequent videos. But for right now, what's important to understand about shutter speed is that the shutter speed is simply the speed in which the shutter opens and closes. And the shutter is the gateway of your camera. So you have an aperture. I talked about that. You have an aperture in your camera lens. Where's my camera lens? Here we are. You have an aperture, and then behind that aperture, behind that hole, you have a shutter. There's different types of shutters. But the shutter's job is to open and let the light in and close. It opens and it closes. The speed in which it does that is the shutter speed. How quickly does it open and close? How long is it open? So if you have a shutter speed of 1 second, it means that the shutter will be open for 1 second. It will open, and 1 second later, it will close and block off the light. That's your shutter speed. So the light pours into the camera for 1 second. That's your shutter speed. Most shutter speeds are much, much, much faster than that. Shutter speeds typically 1/60th of a second, for example. That means that for 1/60th of a second, the shutter is open. And if you're taking a picture of something that's moving very, very quickly, you may be shooting with a shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second or 1/2000th of a second. Unbelievably fast. You understand? That means that theoretically it could open and close 2,000 times in 1 second because it's doing it at 1/2000th of a second. That's a very fast shutter speed, right? Very, very fast. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? So that's all shutter speed is. It sounds like a fancy word, but it's actually a very good word because it perfectly describes what it is. It's the speed of the shutter. How long is the shutter open? What's the shutter speed? And it can be confusing because a lot of times people don't express it as a fraction. So you'll say, what's the shutter speed? 60? Well, they don't mean that it's open and closed for 60 seconds. They mean it's open and closes for 1/60th of a second. Because most of the shutter speeds that we use in photography are less than a second, right? Much less than a second in many cases. We tend to sometimes just shorten it and express it by the whole number. So what's your shutter speed? 250? What they really mean is 1/250th of a second, not 250 seconds or 250 minutes or 250 hours. If they just give you a number like 100, they mean 1/100th of a second or 1/250th of a second. That is shutter speed. All right, keep watching. More videos. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about photography. I promise.